Hello, my name is Gaines Hubbell. I'm the editor and a technical editor at the Journal of Games Criticism, and I'm a doctoral candidate at Rensselaer Polytechnic. I'm going to start with what I think is an obvious statement. Academia is stagnating. And I mean stagnating as a present progressive verb and as a predicative adjective. Sorry, did I mention I'm the technical editor? Academia, especially when we're talking about games, isn't pushing many boundaries. Game studies isn't publishing the game design. There we go. Games programs are seldom reading criticism alongside how-to textbooks. Academia also has a backwards or at best chilling effect on the people in it. It's white, it's male, it's wealthy, it's cis, it's slow. It's got disciplines which, through the magic of the academic job market and the ghostly power of DWMs, keep fresh knowledge out. It doesn't have to be that way, but change will come slowly to academia. Right now, a lot of the groundbreaking work in games, their journalism, criticism, development, and design is happening in the larger non-academic games communities. Change may be slow, but what it will look like is already available on Critical Distance, on Gamma Sutra, on Rock Paper Shotgun, on Electron Dance, and on Winnable, and a dozen other online publications and zines. Embracing that change, especially for newer media like games, is a big challenge for academia. Right now, a few online academic publications, like First Person Scholar and the Journal of Games Criticism, are in a middle state between traditional peer-reviewed academic publishing and online edited publishing. It's a form of publishing that recognizes that a lot of valuable knowledge is passing by the academic conversation without attention and tries instead to articulate that knowledge for its value. FPS and JGC in particular gear themselves towards a feed-forward idea of knowledge, the perhaps revolutionary idea that knowledge needs to be useful, applicable, and most importantly, free of the academic institution's disciplinarity. So what does that really mean? In short, publications like FPS and JGC are revolutionary among academic publications. They are genuine deviations from the way the institution would have things work. To give you a better idea of what I mean, I'm going to talk some nuts and bolts about JGC's review process, kind of flesh out how we do it, how we're different. I suspect JGC has similarities to FPS. I mean, we based our model on their ideas after all, but I can't speak for them. We do blind peer review. The authors don't know who is reviewing them, and the reviewers don't know who the author is. This is typical across academic publishing. However, most academic publishing uses authority checks, that there's maybe some kind of unwritten rule that you need to be an academic to submit, or you need to cite the appropriate academic sources to be considered knowledgeable. We don't do that. Our reviewers are instructed to judge an article on its argument, what it says, not how it says it, or who says it. Most academic publishing expects authors to use the right buzzwords, well, the academic jargon. We don't. We discourage jargon. Most academic publishing in games takes 6 months to over a year to complete the review process. We review in 2 months. We also welcome work in a range of formats outside of the traditional academic essay. We publish fast, so we have a letter to the editor format in an effort to capture some of that excellent games writing that happens on Twitter. JGC's first issue had an excellent set of discussions surrounding it that most academia wasn't even aware of. And I hope those of you who are part of that send us a letter to the editor. We want to raise questions and start debates. These are important places that knowledge is formed. More than just the newspaper-style letter to the editor format, we welcome a range of non-essay formats. We're open to your ideas of what that means. Some of my favorite work in games is happening on YouTube videos and SoundCloud podcasts. And these formats are not just different forms than the old essay. They are different ways of knowing. Traditional academic publishing isn't fast enough to capture a modern debate, and it's too print-oriented to appreciate modern essay alternatives. The hope here is that we're faster so we can keep up with changes in games and the conversations around games. We discourage jargon to reach a broader audience so academics can speak to developers, developers to critics, critics to academics, and so on. So the audience that can benefit from the knowledge can get the knowledge. And we don't do authority checks because they only serve to maintain the navel-gazing purity of the ivory tower. That brings me to, I guess, the biggest question. Why? Why should an academic write to a non-academic audience? There's often some misplaced assumption that the power dynamic of knowledge, about the power dynamic of knowledge, that knowledge somehow becomes real or important when it's academic. It doesn't. Nothing about it changes. Powerful knowledge is knowledge that's used. It's knowledge that has a function in society. Academia can be a prison for knowledge as much as it can be a pedestal. And it's important to reject that part of the academic publishing institution. Some institutions are already trying to do this. I think Princeton is encouraging open access journal publishing. With games being a newer discipline or field, it's better to get ahead of it than behind it. Why should a non-academic write a peer-reviewed article? Academia is an institution. It's a formal and informal institution, and like all institutions, it has problems. But it does one thing really, and sometimes unfortunately, well. It confers institutional authority. That authority isn't valuable in itself. It's useful when it conveys power, seriousness, or legitimacy that allows you to access places that you previously couldn't. But this is still a dichotomy that doesn't fit contemporary games. We aren't just academics or non-academics. Right now, I think we, the games communities, are the experts in this games practice. A practice that includes journalists, critics, developers, artists, and designers. I believe in 20 years, you'll need a degree in games to be an expert in games. But right now, the knowledge base that I'd like to see granting degrees in games, teaching the future games experts, and qualified as experts in games themselves is this one here. The people here at Critical Proximity and the GDC community at large. It's not that anyone needs academia or that academia needs anyone. It's that institutions are part of how legitimacy and appropriate social behavior form. Academia is one of many formal and informal institutions with a stake in games. But because games are new, at least for academia, it's a good time to get involved in constructing how academia should participate in this growing industry and cultural practice. And a few outlets like JGC and FPS are out there right now making sure everyone gets to be a part of that formation to keep academia from being its regular old self. Thank you, and thank Critical Proximity for this awesome conference.